Here we go. Good evening, guys. Thanks for joining Target Shooting UK live stream. Tonight, we are on target having a discussion about practical shooting. And we're going to be speaking to some of these characters. They're up here. We got John Axe at the top as usual. Hi, John.
Hi. Can change my camera, see what happens.
Oliver Bloomfield, just down here. We got Amric Singh.
Hello.
Break in there. Guys, thanks very much for joining us. Okay. We're going to have a discussion this evening about practical shooting. We're going to talk about the transition, perhaps, between airsoft to three-gun. We're going to be talking to Ollie here, who is probably the more experienced shooter out of him and the young chap above him and myself, apart from John, who is a very experienced three-gun shooter. You know, Ollie, I want to start with you. Just get a little bit of background on yourself. I want you to tell us about yourself in terms of how you got into shooting and how that extended itself to where you are now.
Evening, thanks for having me. Basically, I started out clay pigeon shooting like a lot of people. It was actually my last day of freedom at my stag do. Experienced a 12 gauge for the first time. The bug bit. Moved on, did a few. I think I had an over and under for 3 weeks. And then I went and bought my first pump action shotgun, section 2. I found out about a local club that were opening their membership for the first time in 5 years, and I got in contact with a few of them through the local gun shop that was open near me. Went down there, had a look around, thought, wow, this just blew my mind. This, you know, what we can do this kind of thing. Now, obviously there's a lot of things we can't do now, legalities and all that, but it was a total trip. So I just went on from there, started my probationary. Obviously that means you're making the cups of tea, sweeping up, you're doing all the apprentice stuff. You know, if they wanted someone to go up on the club roof, up I went. Just went on from there, moved on to section 1s, and it's really progressed. Now I'm at the point where I don't really own any shotguns. They're all firearms, or firearms registered. And I've obviously met people over the years that have helped to progress my career. I don't know if you want to call it that. And just gone on from there. I've just basically, anything that goes pop, fizzle, or bang, if I can play with it, I want to play on it. And it's been a learning curve. The first 5 years was very, very limited because there weren't many clubs, there wasn't many functions and things open. Found out about Shield Shooting Centre, you know, let it rest in peace. That place was just such a game changer, and I think it is for quite a lot of people of my sort of generation. You know, we've all experienced the warm welcome you received down on the range, the great cooking, you know, the fridge just full of chocolate. It was amazing. And it was just a fun place, and you learned so much. Then I've gone on from there. About 6 years ago, started going out on organised trips to the US. Went to a few European trips, experiencing handguns, semi-automatic rifles, and the such, and whatever full auto. Anything that floats under my nose, I'll have a go on. If it don't cost a bomb, I'm there. And you know, then I thought, well, 3 years ago, because obviously with COVID, nobody's going anywhere, I reached out to some of the chaps in America and said, I want to experience this off my own back. I want to do something that is something I would never think of doing. And that's why I basically entered my first ever proper three-gun match. I don't know if they call it a national. John can correct me on the correct terminology, but it was quite a big major match. I was scared, to say the least. As we were discussing before I came on air, was that really it was an experience to survive it, to not get disqualified, to shoot safely, to enjoy the company around you, make some new friends, some new comrades. even to the point we met a couple that had only just recently moved out there, and they were originally from Wales area, and we stayed in contact with them. So the following Christmas, we went back out there again, and I've been going there ever since. It's a joy. It's an absolute joy. The whole idea of shooting has, as anyone would know me, I'm full of beans, and I can go off a little bit like a rocket. And I do find that the shooting slows me down. It makes me concentrate. It makes me actually think about what I'm about to do, because obviously if it goes wrong, it can be exceedingly dangerous. And yeah, I just love it. Absolutely adore anything to do with firearms. I enjoy the community, the brotherhood from it, the family, and if it goes bang, pop or fizzle, and it's not too expensive, you know, we all like a cheap ride. I just thought I'd just give it a go, and even to the point, as I said to you the other evening, I spoke to a lot of people last year. They said, "Oh, I haven't been down the range. I haven't had the opportunity to do this, that, and the X, Y, and Z." And they said, "Oh, you must have been really awful not being able to go out." I said, "No, I hardly shot last year, but now my wife's doing it."
So when you be just before we go over to Amric, you could talk about himself. Oliver, what point did you realize? I mean, did you surpass yourself? Were you quite surprised of how competitive you were and how quickly you developed?
Yes. I mean, there was, I think, third or fourth week after shooting my Section 2 pump down at my local club that I was formerly a member of, I was just thinking, this is amazing. I can push myself. And to be quite frank, I never took part in any sport in school. You know, rugby, cricket, stick out your arse. I've never really gone for that. So I've never been an athletic type. I've never been somebody that likes to participate in team sports, because most of the people I'm surrounded with wind me up anyway. But at least with shooting, especially with practical shooting, you're always constantly pushing yourself. It's a constant evolution in both. I mean, people say, "Oh, I'm changing this and that on my rifle," for instance. It's not just that. It's how you stack it in your car, how you load your ammo, where do you store your ammo, your bag, where have you put your first aid kit, where do you put your screwdrivers. Everything has to be in the right order. And that's another thing, it's organisation. It's really pushed me to be not the top of my game, because I've never expected to win, but just to be able to enjoy myself and be able to hopefully say to other people, this is what I do, this is how I've achieved it, these are the people that have helped me. If you want to experience it as well, you're more than welcome. Because I had a lot of guys, older blokes, ex-handgunners and all this kind of thing. I'm looking at rifles, I didn't have a clue what they were to start with. They just go, you know, if it's legal to do so, obviously, and safe, they would then instruct me on how to do it, how to maintain it, how to use it safely. And it just offers you so many things. Not just this. This is the happiness. Yeah, great. But it's the organisation. It's the competitive nature that you want to draw from yourself. Some guys I shoot with, they're quite happy to shoot in club level. I like to be able to push myself a little bit more and hope that I can get a bit faster, engage the targets a bit better.
Well, look, you've already reached pretty much the top end of 3-gun in that respect, and we're going to be discussing those things in terms of ability from one extent to the other. And just going over to Amric. Amric, thanks very much again for coming on, buddy. Let's talk about yourself, Amric, how you get into shooting, where it began with airsoft, and where you like it to go.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Well, it was pretty much the same as Ollie. The difference, I guess, is it's recently just happened to me. We had a company day, and then I had a clay shoot. I really enjoyed it. Went out looking for where I could do more clay shooting. Found a local club, and I was just Googling, you know, how to hit a clay and trying to learn that kind of stuff. And I suddenly came across something called 3-gun. People quad loading shotguns and shooting rifles and pistols. And I remember just watching the videos thinking, oh, God, the Americans are so lucky they get to do all this stuff. And then as I kind of dug in to talk to people around me, they were like, oh, well, actually, yeah, you can, you know, without having to have a license to and go through all the kind of authority and all the other kind of bits and pieces, you can compete at that level with airsoft equipment. So I found myself a local club in Huddersfield, and they did Action Air, but actually what they did was they were trying to develop what they call a multi-gun, but therefore using a shotgun, using a rifle, and using a gas-powered pistol to emulate the 3-gun. So that was about 2 and a bit years ago, and then with those groups, we put on a couple of matches. The first in this neck of the woods, and then from there, I met people like Ollie who were just like, actually, you can get pretty close to this. You know, there is a practical shotgun. There is mini rifle. There is even the long barrel pistol to shoot. So then I went, right, okay. So I started looking into that. Found myself a local club, and then basically since then I've got my FAC, got a few bits of equipment, probably more equipment than anything else, and just picking up all that was quite a big learning curve, really, because my local club doesn't actually shoot any form of practical whatsoever. So I had to keep hunting. Found the UK PSA, joined every single club and organisation I could do just to kind of pick up all the information. And I'm on the if it wasn't for COVID, I would have had my first PSG match, my first mini rifle match by now. But that's all lined up in the next few months. So I'm kind of really eager to get going and just see what it's like.
So that's great. That's great to know all that stuff there, Amric. And obviously you're at the stage now where you want to take things further. Obviously COVID has shut everything down. So let's touch on the crossover there. And what sort of things are you looking forward to?
Well, the biggest thing really is just seeing the difference, because there is one, the airsoft replicas are very, very close, in terms of if you set your equipment up fairly well, you'll be quad loading. You can do your pistols without the kind of faux suppressors and long barrel, and the extension are pretty. I've been told they're reasonably close. They're obviously not a 9mm replica or anything like that, but the way they move and the way you manipulate them is identical. And the same with the rifles. They're all gas-powered rifles. So I'm just looking forward to actually using those kind of manipulation skills that we've been picking up with the airsoft and seeing what difference it actually makes. The main thing really is that the airsoft has been kind of teaching us the safety aspect, because if you go to any of the airsoft matches, the Action Air or the multi-guns, you can't foul any of your key safety measures. You can't be fiddling with your rifles unless you're in the safe area. You can't be pointing them in the wrong direction. Moving with your finger on the trigger, that'll get you disqualified, just like it will do in a full-on match. So yeah, it's those kind of things, and just actually comparing the difference between the system, because as you well know, once that buzzer goes, it's a different ball game. Your attention just needs to be on keeping everything safe and keeping it moving forward. So I think this year is just going to be a huge learning curve, just to kind of deal with the kind of the pressure of the beep as such, really, and just making sure I can get through all the matches.
So we'll just bring John and Ollie into this conversation with pretty much what you've just been talking about there, Amric. John, the crossover, the training, the differences between airsoft and real steel, going to real steel, the guns, 3-gun. What are we talking about here? Is there much in terms of changes and differences between these two?
Not for me. The basic principles of getting sights on target and following the correct manipulations to pull the trigger and manage the recoil are exactly the same. So the only difference is the amount of recoil. So actually shooting Action Air and the 3-gun stuff that Amric's done is going to put him in really good stead, so that when he does go to a match, that safety aspect and those manipulations should be second nature. Okay, he's not going to be as fast as he will be in the future after practice and all the rest of it, but he'll be safe. And so safety is what everybody cares about, performance is what he cares about.
I can certainly say that
I think the key.
was going to say
I was just going to say the biggest thing for me was that I didn't need to have a license. You know, I could go out and try this thing. You know, because if you think really from my point of view as a newbie, you know, before I could even touch a mini rifle really to go shoot a range, before somebody explained to me that there is an exemption that you can shoot under. You know, I needed to do my long gun course, which I did with UK PSA, and just being able to have the airsoft stuff at home and actually go to the range with the kind of practical airsoft guys and just learn all that stuff just kind of gets over some of that initial thing. And it also works out if I like it without spending huge tons of money and going through all the FSE business that I've obviously gone through now. I just found it a really simple way to step myself into actually seeing if I enjoy this. Otherwise, you know, potentially you could end up buying a whole lot of equipment and start down a route that you might find actually in a year you don't really enjoy it, or you don't enjoy the whole competitive nature of the practice.
I can only offer the each three of those types of.
Ollie.
Sorry, can you not hear me?
Just over to you, Ollie. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The only thing I can offer with that, obviously, you're describing three different types of 3-gun. You've got the real 3-gun in the US, obviously the UK equivalent of it with a long barrel pistol, which offers its own types of problems. Yes, John's correct. The training and the muscle memory is all practically the same. The only, obviously, the downside, obviously, with airsoft is obviously the recoil and all this kind of thing. This is why because obviously I met Amric before at one of those airsoft 3-gun shoots, and it was really good fun. And again, I've gone knee deep into it because I've got a Tokyo Marui something. I don't understand those things. They all run on fart gas and they shoot a BB. I don't know. But basically, the good thing about being able to build your equipment around that is that I've managed to build a belt that will quite happily house for all three of those disciplines, if you want to separate them as disciplines. And the equipment, yeah, you're right, there is a lot of costings into it to be incurred on the initial setup, but once you've got something that is okay and is going to work for a long time, then I can't see why that shouldn't cause you any major concerns. It's when you do go and buy a load of 3-gun stuff off of AliExpress, well, we all know it's all going to fall apart because it's all made of tin foil. But at least if you know that it will keep you going for a year or two and give you an idea of what you want to do. And again, if you want to move down a different route, then you haven't put that financial outlay on there. I personally think that the equipment you can use is good. 3-gun in the US is very, very, it is different. It is still very safe. They do have some idiosyncrasies that we wouldn't do in this country. For example, they would preload shotguns on a table. In option 2, you would actually walk around with that. Obviously, you've got your handgun in the holster. Obviously, it's a cold range, so your rifle and your pistol are empty, and you would load on the line. You could say that could be very similar to things like airsoft 3-gun. You can still train and get yourself prepared for it, because even when I went out there, I was like, well, there's a whole table of option 2 loaded shotguns, and because they were running things on a tight schedule, they didn't have time to explain it. So I had to get my squad mates to explain to me, why do you do that? It's because it takes so long. It's preloaded. You just charge it, put it in the bin, and you're ready to go. So the experience is different. They offer idiosyncrasies with each type, but they do offer benefits that can then take you up to the full bore level, if you wanted to coin a phrase.
John, follow up on that?
Yeah. One of the things that people can get a little bit confused by is the 3-gun thing. Well, 3-gun's only one gun at a time. You never shoot. You might shoot more than one gun on stage, but you never shoot more than one gun at a time.
No.
So all of the UK PSA or UK-based stuff that is single gun discipline is still very good training, and regardless of the platform, whether that be airsoft, mini rifle, full bore, PSG, whatever. It's all good training, and it's all good cross training. So all of the principles of swinging a handgun from target to target are exactly the same as the principles of swinging a shotgun from target to target. So yeah, it's all good stuff, and getting into it is, I kind of wish I could. I've done it now. I've had that journey. It was a fun journey, and it would be nice if there was, if I was able to go through it again, knowing what I know now, and having that excitement and stuff. Amorit's got some good times ahead of him.
Yep. So what was it, John, that you think I should know before I start this? Because obviously I'm hoping to compete this year in the UK, and then hopefully with some assistance from you guys, I'll probably work out how to get over to America and do what I need to do, because obviously there's a whole equipment and lending and and all that kind of stuff to organize when you're over there. But it'd be interesting just to kind of find out how you kind of, what would you change now that you kind of, if you look back on what you've done?
I would have not listened to people about performance, and I would have listened to people that were talking about concentrate on fundamentals. Keep the gun pointing in the safe direction and concentrate on your fundamentals. Your performance doesn't matter at the end of the day to anybody else other than you. We get into it. We want to go faster. We want to come off stages feeling like our hair's on fire, and the adrenaline's coursing through our system. It's all about going faster and faster and faster. But for me, my performance has got better since I've slowed down and concentrated on fundamentals. By slowing down, I don't mean I've slowed down. I mean I'm concentrating properly on the fundamentals, rather than just running around like a crazy lunatic, horsing rounds down range, which is fine. Yeah. I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place for shooting fast, but each target requires a certain amount of fundamentals applied to it. So yeah, I would concentrate on fundamentals. I wouldn't look at results until the following day.
Definitely.
Go into every match with the only expectation of applying myself to the best of my abilities. That's it. You can't know anything about the results. Don't worry about it.
I mean, the only big lesson I took from my experience in Texas was, like John was saying, you're going out there to enjoy the fundamentals, be safe, don't be disqualified. I mean, at the end of the day, you are going up against guys that can shoot, and as often as they please, they don't have the regulations and all the other costs that impair them, their performance. So you're never going to beat them. Really, it's just a case of enjoying yourself and being safe and making sure that you can go back again another year and you can improve on your score from the previous year. Just because you will slowly improve as you're being safe. Once you're good with a shotgun, you'll always be good with a shotgun. Once you understand how a rifle works, enjoy the rifle. I believe the biggest back foot for any of us in these UK Isles is cheerily just a handgun. That's the big downside. The only thing I would change is the amount of money that I've sunk into it. You don't want to know. I mean, it's disgusting the amount of money I've spent on this. I mean, the biggest thing was the base equipment. The first thing I thought of was I want to make sure that I've got the right equipment, because again, you can buy your tinfoil AliExpress. It's not going to, out in Texas, for example, it wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. It would have broken, and then you would have been in a lot of trouble. So I certainly overspent a little bit. I was a little bit over, oh blimey, something's happening here. I slightly overspent when I shouldn't have done, really. But again, I enjoyed the experience of actually being able to do that.
Just saying about the cost there. I've got £5 pistol mags pouches, airsoft pouches, and that's my 3-gun kit. It does perfectly well for matches like Ollie's talking about, Blue Ridge and things like that. The only thing that my 3-gun belt costs money. On my 3-gun belt that cost money was my shotgun rig, which is some old stuff that I had from UK PSA stuff, not UK based PSG stuff. And I bolted all that to using literally stainless steel 10mm bolts to a 15 quid weightlifting belt. Is it Gucci? No. And honestly, I don't want Gucci that falls off. I want a weightlifting belt that's not going to fall off. They'll have to take it off me when I'm in a crumpled heap on the floor. I haven't had any issues with my mag pouches dropping mags. My holster, I did spend money on my holster because I don't want my pistol to fall out. So that was a Safariland GLS. But again, that was like 60 quid, I think, 50, 60 quid. In the UK, we have to have proper race holsters for our LVPs just because of the barrels. You can't. I mean, you can draw it right out. Amric's gone. Quick.
It's all right, he'll come back. It happens on these streams. I'm sure he'll come back. Carry on, John.
That's because he's up north. I mean, we're lucky he's got electricity, let alone internet.
Blimey, when did they get that? Jeez, these modern fandangles.
He's got a nuclear-powered hamster.
I think the biggest expense I've spent out on was I bought the Carbon Arms ELS belt and went full chat with the ELS clips. They were quite expensive, I have to admit. The pouch caddies I've got at the moment, I think they're all Paz Tactical. Like I say, got level 3 holster. But again, that was one so that I can use that exact same rig. I've got air wing caddies as well from a shotgun for the 12 gauge. And again, I thought, well, my chain of thinking was, if I buy the ish proper gear and the belt that's not going to fall apart, it will last me a lifetime. So, I mean, you know, these I'm seeing all these guys that are using Carbon Arms, they're using Safariland, they're using the ELS clips. If it offers them reliability, that's the kind of reliability I would like as well. Again, the only difficulty is really sourcing them in the UK, which thankfully I do from time to time. Invested in 3 air wing caddies. I can only even to the point I can use that as an actual full-time shotgun rig. A couple of double stack air. I think one of them was all Paz Tactical. I think one of them's even, is it Zahal? He's from eBay. It was about £14, and the most expensive thing was the holster, which was about £60 or £80. So it was still quite expensive, a couple of £100, but it's worthwhile because I've got a platform that will now click on and click off to whatever I'm using. So I can use the AR pouches for my mini rifle. I can click them off and I can run my airsoft, obviously, because I go up to, I think it's Watford, like the Practical Pistol Club up there. I can click them off. I can go full time with 12 gauge if I'm doing some IPSC shotgun. It's great. You've got one platform and it just covers everything. That's the one thing I like about the platform that I spent the money on. Maybe a bit too much, but you know, it's what the heck. Got nothing else better to do.
Rick, is this encouraging you or discouraging you? What have you picked up?
Well, I think it's basically that the equipment isn't really that much of a thing. I guess it's the things that's kind of scary because you don't know what you're going to get when you're prepared to go over there. And then it's obviously everything else about how you even find the matches. You know, where do you enter and how do you arrange everything else? But in terms of the equipment, it's always really interesting. It's good to know that you can pretty much use the same stuff over here as you can over there. But the next thing is at what level and what point would you actually go over there and start these matches? You know, because obviously you have like level 1s and level 2s and level 3s here, and you have a segregation kind of thing that you kind of build your way through, and you have to have a competition license. Same with shooting over in Europe. But you know, what is the difference up there? You know, what is their kind of criteria for being able to enter, especially as a foreigner?
Well, they don't really have a criteria. I would personally say at least a year's worth of shooting at any given level in the UK should keep you in good stead. So you know that you can engage the targets brilliantly. You can obviously just keep your finger off the trigger, travel safely, set your courses of fire up, where you're going to stage and reload and all that. I'd say definitely at the minimum of a year with a full FAC and a fire in your belly. That's what I would say. Gain a little bit of experience with each platform separately. Some you might favour more than others, and then consider it, is what I would say. I mean, I went for nearly 7 or 8 years before I decided to give it a dive. You know, and I think that for me personally, that my back foot was that the local club that I was a member of, bunch of old timers, they went, "Oh, we want to get a Remington 1187. We've had those since 1943." Nah, that was the worst thing I've ever purchased. As soon as I got rid of that, and personally, as anyone knows me, I'm a bit of a Benelli connector. As soon as I jumped over to Benelli, away, totally much better equipment. You have to, you can make the wrong decisions and buy the wrong equipment and overspend, and you can also get the right equipment and not spend too much money.
Amric, what have you had a taste of so far? What type of weapons have you used so far in terms of progressing?
I've obviously got a couple of 2.2s as I'm preparing for a mini rifle to competition season to start. I've got my Section 1 pump action shotgun that's been sat quietly in a safe waiting for us to be allowed out to play. And then we've got an LBP that we're just waiting to use again. It's just waiting for the ranges and everything to open. So I'm hoping this year with the competitions coming up that I'll get a reasonable amount of experience in to kind of put my cherry as such on the UK circuit. And then it'll just be a case of when I feel confident enough to find out what else I need to actually be able to go out there to start the whole process, really, because there's obviously people who organise trips. There's obviously just being able to go out there yourself. What other hurdles do I need to overcome really to kind of before I'm ready to go out there? Because it is the thing that's made me want to shoot. From that first video I saw somebody quad loading and running a stage, and then seeing videos of obviously Jerry Mitchellak and all those and the kind of the competitions they put on, but they also seem to be very different to what we put on here. Whereas so far, again, very limited experience I've had, is everything's in quite small bays. You're not really shooting out to any distance. Even from the videos I watched at Silverstone Shooting Centre, they're only shooting mini rifle out to kind of 100 meters, 100 yards. But obviously shooting a rifle out from some of the videos you see on YouTube for the 3-gun, they're talking 300-400, sometimes even longer, just to sit down and shoot a rifle. And it's something that I haven't done here yet in any shape or form, whether that's prone or actively moving around and engaging things. So it's those kind of things, and just understanding the differences between there, which I think would potentially trip me up once I go out there, because as you kind of leading me to kind of believe, is that it's vast. Their competitions and their ranges are held over vast distances, and I know that you're saying that the principles are the same. Downrange is downrange regardless of which way you put it, but manipulating and moving in a much bigger space, and also in a completely foreign and different climate, I can imagine would create some challenges that perhaps are not quite ready for yet.
You're probably not ready for them yet because you haven't shot any kind of. So in the UK, obviously, we have mainly IPSC, and like Ollie said, I mean, I hadn't shot an IPSC match until I've been doing 3-gun for 3 years. So I've been doing practical shooting for 18 months, pretty much down at Shield, the occasional match outside of that, and then went on a trip with Dave Kiddle out to America. That was a great trip, good bunch of lads, but from a competition perspective, didn't do it for me. And the following year went out to Rocky Mountain 3-gun, which was a world shoot, 15 stages over 5 days. So that was a little bit extreme. But once you get over the understanding of the manipulation of the firearms being the same and the downrange being downrange, then actually it's, yes, okay, it's over a further distance, but that doesn't mean anything really. It just means you're on the stage for longer.
Yeah, I'm on a similar situation. Went on the organised trips. Yeah, it was great. I mean, you're going out into different parts of the US. First and foremost, you're enjoying a part of the subculture of the States, which is a part of culture that's obviously alienated even in their own country. Then you get to a stage where you think, well, I'd like to do this on my own. And all I did was simply went on to some of the 3 gun Facebook pages, and there's numerous ones out there. Started putting messages out, just sort of said, look, hi, guy from Britain, you know, fat and 40, wants to come and shoot a bit of 3 gun. So what can we do? Thankfully, a chap called Daniel came back, just said, I said, is there any licensing issue? Because again, I didn't know. I've been out there, we've been on organised trips where you get given everything is spoon fed to you. Now all of a sudden I'm having to think for myself, where am I going to get bullets? Where am I going to get the shells? What's the legality of ownership of these things? Because over here, if you get caught with 1 bullet in the thing, it's like, oh, you're in the docks. It's like, over there, they don't care. You know, I mean, I walked across a car park in Walmart once carrying 9mm and a 6-pack of beer. I got shouted at because the beer was uncovered. Didn't give a crap about the 9mm. But the main point is that I sort of thought, right, well, what's all this? What's all the legality? So obviously, the poor chap was bombarded with different questions because obviously we have this banged into us. You know, it's all about security. It's all about ownership, unauthorized access, blah, blah, blah. Out there, different kettle of fish. He said, I'm driving over to my brother-in-law's house now. I'm going to borrow his rifle. I'm going over to my cousin's house. I'm borrowing his Benelli Vinci because obviously I was quite at fay with that platform. He said, well, what handgun of experience have you got? I said, I've got this. And obviously I come out with this sopping great broomstick. And he's like, what the hell's that? Of course, then he starts taking the mickey and everything. And once he established, obviously, the manipulations of the firearm, the bit that's interesting in the middle was exactly the same as his one. He said, give this one a try. Brilliant. Okay. Obviously, I've got the IPSC shotgun caddies, you know, the Airwin Innovations, great company. I've already got a few pistol pouches, airsoft bits, single stack, double stack, just bits and bobs. I mean, my first ever pistol holster bits, the ammo carriers, I borrowed from my brother, and he goes airsoft, and he does the old Nielsen running around the woods like a bunch of tarts. And, you know, he lent me half all that equipment. So I went out there, right, now what do I do? Who do I need to see for ammo? Well, that guy over there. And this guy's just throwing sweets, like the sweets. He's just selling them. There's no tickets. There's no writing on your license, nothing of that sort. I just got given a big bag of 9mm, big bag of 223. I made the fatal mistake of buying some cheap slugs from Walmart, and every night I had to lock my shoulder back into place because I can't remember what they were. They were like Winchester double subatomic things, and they were horrible. Boom! I mean, you know, you see this? That was bought on 3 years ago. And there was no problems. Everyone was so open, they were so warm, they were so welcoming. I mean, apart from the fact the initial reaction is, oh my God, what part of Australia are you from? Once you've got over that, or, oh my God, do you know a man who lives in London? I'm like, yeah, all right, pal, calm down. Once they've got over that, you explain to them, I've got this, and this. I've gone here, and here. I know this fella, I do this, do that. They're such a welcoming bunch, every single one. And it got to a point after the 4th day, because again, I'm wandering around. I'm in Wonderland here. There were all manner of things being stuffed under my nose. It's like, here you go, have a go on this. Okay. And it was great. I mean, like you say, talk about Jerry Mikulak. I was absolutely flabbergasted. I've got this Hayes Custom super duper 2011 beautiful engineered piece of machinery, and for some reason it wasn't working with one magazine, and I just about typical. You drop a pistol mag, it doesn't go the other way. It always goes butter side down, so the bullet goes straight into the sand. So I'm cleaning them all out, and my wife's just driven me around to the practice bay, and don't know a soul. Round the corner comes Jerry Mikulak and his wife. And we're just talking to them. They're such lovely people. They're so open and welcoming. And they, you know, what have you come for? What's your driving factor? And I said, I wanted to experience it for myself. I want to experience what freedom's like without sounding too crass. The limitless affair that country can offer you is unbelievable. And yeah, I just sent a few messages out. People helped me. You can always ask questions. Bother the crap out of everybody, because all they can do is say no. And I just went out there, just booked a flight, out we go. And obviously I've made some good friends out there as well. Now, you know, I can go to just about any part of America. I can make a couple of phone calls and hopefully my firearms will turn up. That is how opening and welcome they are out there. They're just brilliant people.
Well, obviously, guys, in the UK, there are certain restrictions as to where we can not so much handle the weapons, but it's actually where to shoot. You know, one of Donnie is a couple of guys who've actually joined the stream there earlier on. Were just inquiring about practical shooting grounds in the UK. There really aren't that many, and it's fair to say that you have to travel. You know, so Amrit, just turning over to you. Have you actually looked at potential shooting grounds or practical shooting grounds where you can go to?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I'm a member of 3 clubs. I've got my home office approved club, which is my first one, which is in Wakefield, and then the clubs closest to me, which seem to shoot practical. There's one just down by Sheffield, which is called the Lodge Pistol Club. They've got quite a lot of shotgun, and they do the English version of 3-gun there. So I've been told. So that's somewhere I've just recently joined in the last week or so. You've also got Rosendale, which I hear lots of good things about. You've got, and then Northcote Spuds, who seem to put on apparently one of the best shotgun matches of the year, which I'm really looking forward to kind of getting my teeth into and joining those clubs. But they are all over, you know, they're all over at least an hour away with a minimum hour drive, which is fine, because it's a case of I just try and book the day off. So you know, if they were close, I'd shoot every single night. But obviously they're not that close, so it's a weekend jobby where you fit in with the lifestyle. But those are the ones I've found locally who seem to be proactive. And I'll be honest with you, the hardest thing about getting into firearms has actually been finding clubs that are willing to take on members, because some of the clubs seem to have and again, this is talking very personally from my experience. They're kind of like, yeah, you can join our waiting list maybe in a couple of years, and then I kind of acquire, well, wow, you must be a massive club then if you're close to membership. Oh no, there's about 150 of us, and then you start looking around and you realize just how many actual ranges and how many clubs there are just around me was phenomenal. You start seeing the red flags everywhere. You know, you start seeing, oh, well, there's one there. And it's like, Google it, can't find it. Yeah. And eventually through forums and asking people, oh, there's somewhere near me that shoots. And they're like, oh yeah, about 20 years ago there was a match once there. This is what the club's called. And then you find like a 20-year-old, you know, DIY Safari launch kind of website, which gives you almost no contact details, and you really have to hunt. And to find these clubs and stuff has been really difficult, to be totally honest. And I think has actually been the biggest hurdle is finding a club that's willing to take. You can't just Google gun ranges; it doesn't necessarily work because they're all so secretive. And in fact, some of the pages I looked at for some of the clubs quite actively discouraged you from telling people that you shoot. So it's like joining Fight Club, you know, first real Fight Club, don't tell anybody in Fight Club. And it wasn't until I met people like Ollie and John and some of the people that we met through John that other doors and other clubs have suddenly become available. But Northcote Butts has been phenomenal. They are a fantastically friendly, welcoming club. You know, that's been a great club to join. Every time I've been down there, there's been so much help and advice and stuff. And the new kind of the lodge that I just joined, that seems to be a great club. You know, I went down there for my safety briefing, and everybody was there trying to give you as many pointers and trying to invite you along for the days that they're shooting and stuff, which is great. And it's just trying to find those gems. and finding those people and those connections, which has been the biggest hurdle really for me to getting involved in doing all this stuff. And there's obviously, going to gun shows and things like that has helped, because that's where I've kind of started to see the same faces, and there is obviously quite a few companies out there who've been really open and really welcoming to me in terms of asking stupid questions. And John knows I'm the guy for asking the stupid question, and the obvious question in most cases. So those have been fantastic people to meet, and have really kind of encouraged me to get myself going.
Problem is I didn't have that 16 years ago. I mean, when I walked into my first gun club, I rang them up, and the guy I was talking to, a guy called Matt, and there's a few guys on here that also be aware of the guy I'm talking about, and his initial reaction was, "Oh, we just don't want any old people turning up." And I said, well, "You've advertised the phone number for Practical Shotgun in the local gun shop. If you didn't want people to go, don't write stuff on the wall." And it took 4 weeks, 4 consecutive Thursday nights. I was driving down there, and I was just, hello. And a few of us, I took 3 down. One, he gave in. Another guy came along, and we met, obviously, Dave Kiddle. That's where I originally met him. And we sat there for maybe 16 weeks. And eventually, this one old geezer turns around and says, "What are you boys here for?" Well, apparently not to scratch our asses is not the right answer. I was the first member that they'd had walked through the door, or new applicant, in 5 years. And it snowballed from there. Obviously, a lot of people had come and gone from the club, but it was a very closed-knit community in the club, but it was also very segregated as well at the same time. Black powder shooters didn't like blah, 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 and whatever. But it was just a case, I would just turn up, stand there and go, "Right, I'm going to get in your face, and I'm not going to shut up till you tell me what's what and where's where." And now that you have people like me and John and lots of other characters that are very colourful and will quite happily bend your ear all day long to be able to achieve what you want, will impart any kind of information, you have to. The one thing about UK shooting, if you want to do it, you have to put yourself out. Nothing comes to you. US shooting is very easy for it to come to you because they are very open and welcoming. That is my take from it.
John, clubs, practical shooting clubs in the UK, difficult to find. Do people have what are these new lads, you kids that want to get into practical shooting? What do they got to do? Have they got to travel, look for clubs? Where do they look?
So you're going to have to travel. That's just the way it is. Actually, they do travel in the US. Everybody thinks that they have it easy, but it's all relative. So, I got friends who travel 14, 18 hours to go to a match. That's one end of England or one end of the UK to the other for us. But they think nothing of it because for them that's normal. So you're going to have to accept travel. When the hardest part, as we've said, is getting into it and breaking that barrier. So the simplest thing is to ask questions. Get onto Facebook, just ask questions. And then, like Ollie said, you'll start meeting people like Ollie, like myself. And when you start getting into the sport and talking to people, you start finding out more and more information. In Amric's case, really struggled to find any information whatsoever. And in a group that I ran, that Amric was a part of, has talked to 2 or 3 different people, and now has more contacts in his area and is able to push on because of that. So the sport, as much as the sport is about shooting, it's actually about relationships. And for those people who just want to sit quietly in the background and expect it to, I can't travel any further than I can see, so I'll only travel across to the nearest town. Why don't they do it there? Well, they won't. The chances of them doing it are pretty slim. So it's not going to land on your plate. Like Ollie said, you've got to work for it. And the way to start working for it is to ask questions. Questions cost nothing.
Can we explain?
Yeah, I think I think the biggest guy who helped me out, and to be honest, it was Connors. I literally went to the British Shooting Show. I was like, right, okay, I want to get, I want to see what all this stuff is about. Let's go to a show, and it just happened to be the big British Shooting Show that was happening at the time. And I just wandered around the stands, and he took time out of his day, and he probably spent a good hour with me, just talking about everything and anything, and what was what was available. And then from there, I then took the next step of finding the Hull Purpose Approved Club, trying shoot sessions, and slowly kind of worked my way through it. And I'm trying to encourage my actual Home Purpose Approved Club to actually be a bit more proactive as well. But I think it's just a case of everybody. Well, we had Hunter. You always have to work at it to get to anything, and I'm not fair. As John says, I'm not very shy. I'm willing to ask a stupid question because if I want to know something, I want to. If I can't instantly Google it or find it on YouTube, and the next best thing to do is just go ask somebody who does something, and I want to get into and talk to them. So it's been a really interesting thing, and just prepping even for like this competition season, like you're saying. I was fortunate enough to be a part of what John did earlier on in the year, and actually speaking to so many other shooters, meeting so many other people, and you realise how friendly everybody actually is, and how they don't mind me asking a silly question, even though I'm sure that I can't. If I'm thinking a question, I'm sure somebody, at least one other person somewhere, is thinking the same question and is stopping them from saying it.
Well, talking of questions, let's answer the very first question that came in here from Christian Barr. Christian has asked a pretty straightforward question, actually. How many 3-gun clubs are there in the UK?
So, real still, as far as I know, KFC is the only one that do it.
Yeah. KFC, for a lot of you know out there, Kentucky Firearms Club is based, I think, correct me wrong, David, down in Hampshire, down in the south. That is correct. Is that correct, John?
Yep.
Yeah, around the Alton area.
KFC are organising, David's organising quite regular trips. He's anticipating organising quite a lot of American trips as well for a lot of you lads out there who are based down in the south. I'm in the south. I'm pretty much near Gatwick Airport. I suppose it's a couple of hours drive for me, but it doesn't matter where you are. Ultimately, what you said earlier, John, you're going to have to travel.
Well, my first instance of practical shooting in any shape or form was 120 miles. That was the first trip. That was Shield. I think geographically down where I am in Hampshire, we are quite spoilt with the number of ranges. Consequences, sadly, we have lost a few ranges, Shield being one of them, Dartford most recently. Sadly, I don't think there's any. I'll be brutally honest, in my opinion, no, and obviously there will be better people that can obviously be a bit more qualified for what they say, but no given backstop or gun club in the UK is really set up or engineered to cater for 3-gun, because obviously 3-gun does cater for obviously centre fire and rim fire on 3 backstops. Every single range that I go to is always built to a military specification with 1 backstop and possibly a fallout area. That is one of the biggest things, is the application of ranges and the quantifiable ranges that we can use. If we had 3 backstopped ranges, I'm literally saying it in layman's terms, that would encourage a lot more 3-gun. But sadly, a lot of Home Office approved clubs, I agree, quite rude, they're run by old giffers, and sadly they have their own disciplines, they have their own axe to grind, and as soon as you say anything that's different, modern, we don't want to do that anymore, well, that's it. As soon as they say we don't want it, that's it, you're done. And that's the primary reason why a lot of people on this chat group and myself have left the club that we were a member of. All it was sheerly one chap that ruined it for everybody, sadly, because he had his own discipline that he was in quite good at. That's what he wanted to push forward. That was his agenda. And, it was a great shame, because we've got a lot of good characters out there that are trying to progress 3-gun, and all hail to them, whether it's an airsoft or real steel, I don't mind. But we don't have the ranges for it.
Ollie, do you think that's a function of so many small clubs though, and not enough larger clubs? Because, you know, from what I've seen of the odd kind of committee hearing and stuff like that we've seen, I've sat through over the last couple of years for the clubs I'm involved in, their kind of military intake is X. That matches their minimum, the small number of members, and their outgoings are almost, are comparatively small. And as a result, if they're doing any improvements to their range, it takes them several years just to keep up with some maintenance because the clubs are so small. Do you think that has an impact? Because
it has a positive impact, because if you do have the characters that try and progress 3-gun, IPSC shooting, whatever that discipline may be, they help and they put a lot of effort into it, and I think that's a good thing. I personally feel if we wanted to push or make 3-gun more prevalent in this country, we would certainly need 3 backstopped ranges. That's my opinion, because obviously we do and can shoot 180 degrees. That would allow, I personally feel that would improve that type of shooting, that discipline specifically.
Could we encourage the NRA to develop that there, John, Ollie?
NRA Bisley. So the NRA does a league or leagues of grassroots level matches. So that would be down to the independent clubs that run these matches in these leagues. Getting them to do anything at Bisley, I don't know anything about Bisley, if I'm honest.
No.
I don't know about whether Ollie does.
Shaking the head there from Ollie.
I don't know. I have no idea. There is a lot of progression over there. There has been a lot of change, but it takes time. It does take time.
Well, Andrew Mercer told me that he's very much interested in practical shooting and developing that discipline at the shooting ground. And I would like to see this. He did tell me to my face, and he has people involved at Bisley, does he not? In
Yes.
Practical shooting and target shotgun.
Yeah.
So, how can we encourage our biggest shooting ground in the UK to get involved with practical shooting? How can we do that? Amric, how can we do that from a new practical shooter,
Well, to be totally honest, I think having clubs just open to the idea and actually putting on more matches would be great. I know, unfortunately, you have to remember that my experience over the last year has been during the lockdown, and I've seen the number of matches that are actually planned for the next 6 months or so, and it's gonna be a very interesting time because it's trying to pick which end I can get away from the wife and the kids to shoot some of these matches. But it's openness. That's what it is. I says, I've invited several of the friends that shoot Action Air with me. They're all trying to get on Home Office approved clubs, and they come across the same thing. They're just stuck in a waiting list. I know there's some great clubs. If I was to, which I will probably do at some point, but take the 4.5 hour journey down to where KFC is, I'll become a member there. But 2 hours is a perfectly acceptable travel distance in the morning, basically to shoot a match without even thinking about it. But I'm just looking forward to just finding these ranges and getting involved. But the UK PSA was an interesting organisation to join because they had the safety courses. They actually let you go and just get your safety course done, and that was quite great because before I even shot pump action shotgun, I was always thought I'd be go Benelli and get myself an M2, and that's where I originally started and went and did the course, and actually it changed my way of thinking about what I shot. And it's just been having places where you can get those experiences and shoot different equipment. And I just think, if clubs were just a bit more, I don't want to say inclusive because I don't think it's an inclusive issue. I think it's just they need to work out, why they are closed and why people can't join. If we don't keep expanding the number of people shooting, there won't be that one. There's 3 people here who want to shoot a 3-gun match, and I'm sure, KFC I know do do them regularly. They've got a group of guys, but it'd be nice to have another set of group of guys up here. And the only way to do that is to open up and let people shoot, really, and get them become members of clubs. And I think that will in itself will create a critical mass, and there'll then be more people willing to put in the effort to actually organise, because anybody who sits and organises these events, it's not an easy task. Just from the experiences we've had of just organising the airsoft multi-gun matches, just getting Northern Shooting Show to agree to let us have a match in their midst, people saying they're going to show up and then not showing up. It's not an easy task, and I think you need more people to have enough people to have the momentum to give groups of people enough time to kind of get these matches sorted and get all the different things. But as I said, the UKPSA have got a hell of a lot of matches coming on this year that I've seen, and that's before any of the other kind of clubs put on their matches as well. But it's that thing again, is how transparent it is.
I think possibly it's also a case that you blow people's minds when you want to say using 3 guns.
Go ahead, Ollie. Sorry.
I was just saying, if you go to a lot of these associations and say, I would 3 guns on one course of fire, or just 2 for this course of fire and 1 for this and this one for this, pardon? It almost doesn't compute in their brain that you would like to do that. They seem to think, no, if you're going out shooting, shoot 1 firearm. Well, no. I'd like to use a pistol and a rifle, or maybe all pistol, just the shotgun stage. It blows it. You want to do what? How? When? Oh, blimey! And it isn't an openness. I agree with it. It is an openness, but it's also the willingness for people just to at least give it a try. I mean, my homeless approved club, basically point blank, no. Straight away. I mean, I took on RO duties down at my club to do this, and no, first afternoon, no, sorry, that's wrong. Can't do this. Can't do that. You just think, if you've got the ranges to be willing to do it, it'll be great. I mean, I think I've only found them literally today because my work colleague told me about it. He does a lot of play pigeon shooting, and obviously CPSA, again, an activity I shoot clays, but I don't really go to the whole competition side of things. And he was saying that there's quite a good club in Cambridge that has really pushed. I think they term it as a PSG bay, but I believe that it is cleared up to pistol caliber carbine, like 9mm 45, I think. Again, I could be wrong, but they are willing. So this is the one thing I like about it. They are willing to build a bay. Okay, they are willing to rent it to people, but with stipulations. You have an FAC, you have UKPSA membership, I believe, what I read on the website, and you have completed the appropriate safety certificate or competition certificate, whatever the terminology is. But with those, you present that to them, and you can rent that bay by the hour. I think that's a good way forward. Playgrounds are a great place to open for specifically, obviously, practical shotgun, and it's another source of revenue, I believe, that they're really missing out on. Personally, that's what I feel. I feel that they could quite happily open up their base. And one of the biggest and best things that KFC, I feel, has ever achieved is they actually got a local playground down here to open up for that. And some of the best shoots they've ever put on were at that playground. Absolutely amazing days out. I mean, the weather was obviously a big bonus, but the idea that they've opened up their range and they're willing to at least give it a try. If it doesn't work with them, then fine. But it's when you beg the question and they say no without you even being able to present them a legitimate case, that's when you hit the problems.
Guys, let's talk about Silverstone for a second. I'm sorry just to divert off some very good issues there. What's the situation with Silverstone? What does it do? Does it provide training for practical shooting? Does it have the facilities to develop?
I think the best thing is to get John on another next month or whatever, and ask him directly. I only see what he advertises on Facebook and the occasional mooch on his website. They put on matches, they do training, but I don't know any specific details.
I think this
Best
is
to ask directly.
It's been good that they've done a series though and televised it. But, you know, whether it's I watched it on YouTube every single time. I think it's anything that brings light to more people shooting, and I think actually the more people you get involved in practical will be great. Sorry?
I said it's great TV when you're on the loom. You know,
so you spend a long time on this.
I personally think John is a great
taste.
You know, John is a good advocate because he has put up some very, very good and useful instructional videos, as well as his little TV series thing he's doing. And again, a chap's built a range from scratch. I'll take my hat off to him every time. What he actually does and how he achieves it, I'm not quite. I've only been there twice. I'm not completely au fait about how the whole club works, but there's another chap trying to push a range forward to progress a form of sport, an IPSC sport, or practical sport, whatever the terminology you want to use.
You know, guys, every time we talk about these things, it keeps bringing me back to the practicality or the development of ranges. It's obviously going to be a problem. One of the things that we haven't talked about is the authorities, and in terms of developing a practical shooting range. It's obviously going to be a big problem. It's going to be a much more difficult problem than developing a small bore target shooting club, or even developing an outside range for that matter. So, I mean, what do you think the views are from the Home Office and the police here? I mean, they know very, very clearly that practical shooting is an up-and-coming target shooting sport.
I'm not sure if I should really comment on this one because I didn't have the most instructive conversation with my FEO. He was quite fine for me putting down my 2.2s. As soon as I started talking that I wanted to shoot practical, I could see the nervousness in his face almost instantaneously, and I decided to veer away from that conversation. You know, to be fair, he said that he wouldn't grant me any Section 1 shotguns until I completed a UKPSA safety course. Or something, or anything else along similar lines. He was a bit more forthcoming once he started to put restrictions in place. I need to do this and then do that, and then he will re-look at my thing. So I think it's a difficult thing, really, because I think, you know, the police are always up against it. You know, realistically, as far as they're concerned, if they can have nobody have any firearms, that would be their safest point. But the people they need to be stopping, unfortunately, get them because they don't ask them before they go get some. And I think they need to be educated, because that was the other thing that was a bit shocking from my FEO, that he'd shoot clays, and he only started to do that after he became an a firearms officer. But other than that, he was exceptionally helpful, gave me lots of really good advice, told me actually in some cases that if I wanted to do X, I actually need this, Y. I need to consider all these points. So he was extremely helpful. I was just shocked when he started talking about his shooting experience, because I did ask. Again, me asking the stupid question. So I think they're in a funny situation, really, because in my mind, if they could stop anybody from having them, they would do. But at the same time, they're supposed to do a job and check that we're safe and sound, which I think they do quite well. And I think the individual people need to be given credit, because I think they are running a hard line between what I assume their heads of bosses don't want them to do and what they actually have to do by law.
Well, they have to do by law is follow guidance. And by telling you have to have a UKPSA safety course, it's not following guidance. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think having a safety, got to have a driving license to drive a car. I'm not saying that everybody should have a safety certificate, but I can't really see an argument for not, even if it's a club one. But again, it comes down to the individual. Dave's mentioned there that Hampshire are great, even the Somerset are pretty good, Wiltshire are brilliant. So it's going to depend a lot on the actual areas, constabularies, that's the word I was looking for. So I think, and again, up north, just a bit different up there, isn't it? So, yeah.
It's colder definitely today.
I was mostly trying to try to touch on the subject of shooting grounds, actually, guys, rather than our weapons. But in terms of someone or a club developing a practical shooting ground, applying for the license, to open develop a ground, this is going to be an issue. It is going to be a problem. I mean, obviously, what you talked about there, Amric, in terms of the guns, yes, the FAOs, it is their job to determine as to whether a gun is suitable for what you're going to use it for. It's one of the first things they do. But in terms of clubs developing, practical shooting areas, how much of a concern do you think it is for the Home Office and the police, John? I mean, do you think they're very much against it? I mean, they do see very clearly it's an up and coming shooting sport. So what do you think their views are? Right?
I don't think they necessarily care. The biggest problem you're going to have with ranges, talking about 3-gun, but practical shotgun, is noise.
Yeah.
And the only other implication really is insurance. It used to be that the NRA had to sign a range off for certification for rounds and what you could and couldn't shoot. I think you still have to have it signed off by insurance companies, but I know the NRA don't do it anymore. They don't get the military in to do it. So if you can tick all the boxes for the police and you're not going to have a problem with noise, then there's no problem to be had.
I think it really comes down to the willingness of the actual club, the landowner. Like has been pointed out here, setting up a practical shotgun range just using birdshot is obviously a lot easier than just trying to set up a range to obviously shoot slug. It's the limitations of where you are geographically. I mean, where I am, everyone lives on top of each other. Obviously, further north you go, the more free area you have, and obviously the less electricity because you keep falling out. But it is restrictions. There's some great clubs around here. I've even spoken to, less than 5 minutes drive from my house is my local club. It's on an army base. They have range cleared up to, I think, some full bore, I think 303. Numerous times I've asked them, go down a pub with the guy who runs the clay section, but the powers that be, no, they just point blank do not want civilians on an army range shooting guns. That's it. Over others, they get a bit uppity when I show up with my section 1, but you got a blunderbuss there, shouldn't you be out hunting, I don't know, bloody push me pull yous and all this? I'm like, no, it's just a firearm, it's just a shotgun. Once they get over that initial shock, they're that not ignorant, but they just didn't know it exists. Turn up, you've got this 14-shot shotgun. The first time I turned up with a Typhoon F12, for instance, Bob almost had a cow. He nearly passed out. He went white. He said, "You can't bring a rifle here." I said, "It's a shotgun." It is literally the fact that they just didn't know it existed. And I've said to them numerous times that this is what other clubs such as KFC have tried. They've tried to get in contact with range owners and they've tried to impress upon them that, long story short, there is a financial gain from putting these on. But the landowners have just said, well, we're not certified. We don't want it because of this, or, we can lose revenue because of that and this and this. They put so ifs, buts and maybes. It's just sadly something that we're going to lose out on time and time again. My biggest concern as well is that, what with this lead ban that may possibly go through, it could totally throw most IPSC style shooting on its head. It could become a major concern is all I'm saying, especially for birdshot. No, I'm
going to disagree with you there, Ollie. Yes, you are right. If you're shooting still targets.
Yeah, still targets.
Shoot still targets. Put clays up. Stick static clays up. Now all of a sudden you can shoot them with stills, with still shot. There's no problem, no issue. You have to put the prices up a little bit because it's consumable. Okay, well, your choice is either pay a little bit more money or don't shoot it. Those are your options.
Steel
So,
slug, we can use them again.
Steel slug. Not sure how that stuff ricochets.
Yeah. I think the other thing with
Use it
range
all and pull it out of the sand, and you can load it up again.
How could it possibly go wrong?
stop being poor, buy more. I think the other thing as well, say for example, as it's been discussed in here, you know, you complete your application with your gun club. You then apply for your FAC. You then get your FAC, and then you have another stipulation put in front of you. You have to complete your, is it your long gun course you did, Amric?
Yeah.
Right. But also then, if you want to go and shoot on particular ranges, you need an SSC, a safe shooter certification card. It's more bureaucracy. Let's try and slim that down. Bring it back to, as far as, again, you guys can disagree. I think as long as you've got an FAC for that legally held firearm, and you have an approved safety certificate from one of the recognised associations that are on. I mean, for me, I have to be a member of the UKPSA, NRA. I think it's the National Target Shotgun Association, and one other. As long as you're a member of one of the ones that are on the conditions of your FAC, you should be able to shoot wherever you damn well please. I mean, obviously, you would go shooting a shotgun on a rifle range, but if you've got, I've got a 223, I want to go to shoot at Bisley, not a problem. But if I want to, for example, a friend of mine, he goes to North Coats, you know, that could be a problem because I can't just roll up to there. But if someone's showing my FAC and my UK PSA full bore safety certificate, I should be able to shoot anywhere I please. But, you know, it just sadly doesn't, that reality, that unison doesn't exist.
John?
Yeah, it's one of the. It's, sorry, it is one of the things that I think was again a staggering thing for me to learn. Really, was that I literally have to join every club I want to shoot at to a certain extent. You know, if I want to shoot with a new, you know, somebody I met at the last competition and he shoots now a completely different club, I can't just go for the weekend, go see him and shoot there because a lot of ranges don't allow kind of just ad hoc visitors. There are some that do. You know, you pay your pennies and you're in for the day kind of thing. But it seems bizarre they don't do that. But it also, you know, there's lots of things that the other things I was like quite looking forward to, you know, doing as I was kind of seeing all these kind of range days and stuff that the Americans do, which I thought were great. You know, go and learn to shoot your pistol. You know, go do, you know, have some actual formalized training beyond just doing a safety course, which is all stuff that, you know, it would be great if it existed here. But then the question is would anybody else apart from me want to go to it? Because it's that thing, isn't it? Because, you know, first time I shot my LBP, I basically just took it to the range, fiddled with it for a little while, got the hang of it, got the kind of gist of what was going on with it, and then kind of shot it. But, you know, nobody's kind of ever gone through, you know, you can't go do a pistol class or a master your shotgun class. Not that I've seen so far. And again, this is from my limited experience, you know, and I don't necessarily have to Google everything, but, you know, I don't spend hours and hours trying to search for some of this stuff, but it's just talking to other people and seeing what's out there. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if they did this? Wouldn't it be great if you could go, you know, have a formalized range day or do this or do any of these other things rather than just write UKPSA safety course, right? See you in next week. See you at a match. And you'll pick up everything else from there. You know, because unfortunately for me at that time, I wasn't a member of a practical club. You know, I was a member of an indoor range. You know, which was my home office approved club. So my experience was, what do I need to do to start doing this fun thing like mini rifle or PSG? And it was like, right, first thing you need to do is go get your long gun safety course. Oh yeah, my FEO said something about that. That's why I'm here to find out what about is it? When are they run? Right, okay, join this queue. Very British again, you know. Join this queue, start that whole process. But then I suddenly realised that the UKPSA aren't a large organisation. You know, in my head, I thought there would be this huge organisation that push shooting, but actually, it's a load of really passionate individuals trying to get their hobby to progress into something as best as they can, and it started that, I think. So
guys, who's our NGB here? Who's our NGB? Who's our national governing body here? And do they work? I mean, do they have a database of clubs? I mean, who is our national governing body here?
So the UKPSA does have a list of clubs on their website.
Are they recognised by Sport England as an NGB? Have they applied for that?
Practical shooting isn't recognised as a sport.
Well,
Police will say it's a sport, but it's not actually recognised as a sport.
Well, if I'm not wrong, I think they've made moves to have it recognised as an Olympic sport.
So it's under observer status, but it hasn't been recognised by the ISSF.
Right.
And until it's recognised by the ISSF, it's not technically a sport.
I don't know who you're talking about there.
No, but that's not ISSF are different, John. They're not an NGB. I'm a national governing body here in the UK. I mean, for me, it's not to think about here. But they can't recognise shooting as a sport. And what the hell is it? But
well, my favourite is the fact that less than 100 years ago, Britain was one of the best countries for the Olympic sport of dueling. Two blokes dread head to foot in leather, and they shot each other with wax bullets. I mean, we've how far do we need to progress?
And we're back to airsoft again.
I'll be with you. Yeah, I mean, there are people, again, like Amric says, there are people out there that are trying to push it. I think the biggest thing is money. We have quite a few people that have got the money. Quite a few people haven't got the money, associations and clubs, and they all have their own. They have their own disciplines, they have their own itineraries, and not always favourable to everybody. Mm. In America, there is so much money. I mean, I swear blind that when I walked away from the prize table, I mean, that was the biggest experience. Was I had my name called, and I'm going, woo! My missus said, right, off you go, skedaddle around there. You walk around, as soon as you put your hand on something, that was yours. And I swear blind that I came back with more than the actual match cost. I don't care what anybody says. The prizes I came back with were unsurpassed for the experiences and for the financial outlay. That's what I will say. But even to the point,
so what did you do, Ollie? Did you dig a hole and bury him somewhere, or?
Nah, a lot of washing machine spares, pal. No, sadly, a good proportion of it I had to leave there. I mean, it was daft amounts of 223, 308 a mil. I was just going up to random colonials and just basically saying, look, here, have this. And they were swapping stuff. And, I came back with 2-3 bits and bobs. And I think, I can sell that, keep this. And it was great. The financial input from a lot of the the biggest thing as well is the manufacturers are willing to put their money where their mouth is and actually support that sport. I mean, even today, I think a company called Dissident Arms, who make the KL12, they have just come on as another sponsor with Texas, and they've put on, I think, a food truck and other bits and bobs, and it's amazing. There's a much bigger, friendlier community out there that isn't quite so heavily segregated through discipline, and they are willing to actually financially support these matches to help improve them. It's amazing. It is an experience. It really is. It's a brain boggle.
Absolutely.
Touching on a couple of questions here, I'll just go back onto some of the guys' questions here from Bill Muir. John, what would you say is the most important preparation to undertake in advance of a competition?
Make sure your shit works and that you know what you're doing with it.
Make sure the equipment works. Pretty straight answer there. Goodness me. What would you say to that one, Ollie?
Make sure you've been for a shit before you start shooting, because taking gear.
Oh, I can't think of anything worse on.
I personally, like I say, even to the point you have to understand where your first aid kit is, where your tools are, where your ammo is. Make sure that you familiarise yourself with your range bag as well as your own firearm or whatever it is you're using. If you're comfortable in your clothes, you're comfortable in the shoes, you're comfortable with the coat you're wearing and the company, that helps to calm you down, especially if it's like for Amber, it'll be his first match and he'll be het up, he'll be wanting to get. As soon as you hear the beep, the red mist comes down, all hell breaks loose. If you have everything in place a couple of days before the match, I've even been known to have had my wife shouting at me, I'm chamber checking birdshot. I'll get my barrel, I'll put 12 gauge in. If it falls out, it gets put in one box. If it stays in, it gets put in another box. I do it with 22. I take my barrel out of my rifle, barrel out of my pistol, and I'll change check it so I don't get a jam. And preparation a couple of days beforehand certainly has paid dividends. And a lot of old-timer shooters have taught me that. And I've helped that. I think that's really helped me. Is to know where my safety glasses are. You're not having a panic you're on the range, or you get to the range, you're trying to bomb a mag up, someone's trying to do a range brief, you get in a panic station, all that. If you've got good company around you, people are willing to lend a hand, and you know where your ammo's at, you know where your mags are at, you know where your firearms at, obviously legally you should do, that helps to bring your inabilities down, and it just helps to smooth things out.
There you go now, guys. Ollie Bloomfield says, check your kit and take a shit.
That's going on a t-shirt.
There you go. Very important thing there. Amric, what are you getting from this?
To be totally honest, it's just for me, it's the nerves, it's the preparation of the things, because I wasn't nervous, and I go through kind of fits, and this being probably very honest about it is. There's parts of me kind of get really excited, and then I have a little bit of thing and think, oh bugger, it's the first time I'm going to do it. What happens if I look like a prick and all this kind of stuff when you do?
Don't worry about that.
You don't, and that's that thing is that I'm on that roller coaster ride, and I think as soon as I'm actually on the line, and my focus becomes what I've got to do at that point in time, I think I'll forget about it. But it's that apprehension because it's the first proper match I've shot. And so I think, and I'm sure I can't be the only one that experienced that kind of up and down kind of emotion. I think once my first one is done, I feel better, but I also expect that will just be the same kind of roller coaster. I kind of go up and down before every match until eventually, I become as experienced as the guys above me. Yeah, and they're just kind of, perfectly fine. But it's that thing. It's one of the things that that John's been kind of discussing with us and a group of us previously was about just doing that thing of just squaring yourself away, not having to worry about packing your bag at the last minute at 6 o'clock in the morning when I'm trying to run out of the door to make sure I'm not late for the match. But like, how early should you get to the matches? Is an hour, 2 hours too early? Because obviously I'm traveling too much. Well, it's that thing, isn't it? It's all these little things that I'm trying to prepare for, so I don't have to make any decisions that morning, just to remove any, additional stresses. Sorry, I've got my kids here just running around the bedroom.
I think the worst one for me is I got up so early once, got so disorganised. I went up, I grabbed the gap, ran out the door. Sorry, lads, I'm still putting my shirt and my jumper and my coat on. Get down at the range. I forgot my bullets. Like you getting stuck. I'm going to run around shouting pew 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 all day because someone sought me out. Boom. Hopefully somebody came out of left field. They graciously put themselves in harm's way by potentially running out of ammo themselves to help me out, which was great. Thanks, Dan. Really good guy. He helped me out on that occasion. Shame he gave me the wrong manufacturer I favour, but can't win them all.
Can't be choosers, Ollie.
No, you can't. You never look a gift horse in the mouth. So I've done that time. My first ever match at Shield. I was turned up with my Remington 1187. I'm like this. I haven't got a clue. Me and my friend Peter. First course of fire was a slug stage. I'd only shot slugs twice before that. And that was just literally at the club to check where I was aiming. Sort of. Loaded it all up. Right, are you ready? Stand by. Beep. I go to actuate the safety. Oh my, what the hell's going on here? the Remington 1187 had a key lock on the safety. Locked the safety, and then driven all the way down to Dorset and left the blinking keys in the front bedroom. I was like, we all make daft mistakes. It's learning from your mistakes slowly. Don't take too big jumps between learning your mistakes. Graduate your learning curve. You try and learn too fast, you're going to be unsafe. If you take your time and learn slowly and learn to disregard some people's advice and listen to other people, or take from what you want, that for me is paid benefits.
Watch out, Kittle's about. He's asking you, John, any news on Pro Shoot 3 gun?
Nope.
Okay. Straight answer. Love a straight answer.
That was quick, John.
So, there's nothing going on with COVID anyway, but Pro Shoot have got enough going on. We're trying to get their range up together, just taking a back seat because of COVID. So the Welshies have opened up before us in God's own country. So with any luck, they'll be allowed out to play and be able to get over there, but nothing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, David's expressing his views here very clearly. NRI doesn't want us. Yeah, well, you know, time enough. They've expressed an interest on here. You know, just looking down.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
We will get there. 30 and under lever. Yeah, lots of potential. I think, you know, if there was one thing, guys, that you were going to encourage new shooters out there, or those who are interested, those newbies out there who are going from airsoft to real steel, if you want to call it, and who are very much interested in getting involved with clubs and competitive shooting. I mean, obviously, John, Ollie, I mean, some of these lads are going to show some ability early on, aren't they? They're going to show a certain level of ability and skill, and then they take it further, and that pretty much takes us over to you, Amric.
No expectations, are there, mate?
No,
I think to be fair, the crucial thing is actually is that we're not a fractured community. Yeah, I know the kind of image that airsofters portray, because they run around the woods and shoot BBs at each other, but actually what you've got there is, in my mind, is you've got a lot of people running around using triggers and getting familiar with firearms, and that to them it's not a scary thing anymore. Well, you know, in terms of things, and you know, if anything, there is a pool of people there, another set of people that should be having, you know, with some diligence and understanding the difference. You know, they're moving into FACs and things like that, and it's growing our shooting community. So I think, you know, my son, you know, his first example, his first attempt at using a pistol will probably be an airsoft one. You know, he'll shoot.
I disagree with you. I think that possibly the airsofters, again, like my brother who runs around and he does his mil sim, they are almost, I don't want to use the military.
There is some though, but it is people who, you know, out of that fraction of group of people, there'll be some in there who might actually find action air interesting, and they do find it interesting, you know, and it is, you're never going to get 100% of them, and you're right. And some of the people I've played with, I wouldn't want anywhere around actual proper a firearm, or even in the same building as one. But it's that case of it's a mass of people that we should really be seen as a you know, there's an opportunity there. There will be some. There won't be everybody, because some people, you know, some people are paintball. Some people shoot a bow and arrow and find that as their sport. But in essence, it's still a group of people.
Is there any range regulations on airsoft people? Are there any range regulations on putting on an airsoft shoot? I don't.
Not really. Well, I think, Ollie, I don't know if you remember, but we've put on quite a few inside at the Northern Shooting Show, and bits and pieces and plinking range. It's just about not shooting somebody else that's not a part of the group that you're playing with. But realistically, you know, there is a legal limit of how powerful they can be. the FPS as such for each of the things that it needs to be prepared for. But the thing is that they don't have anything that makes them look different. So what you'll actually find is if people aren't careful with them, if they're shooting in the background, they'll have armed response around, because from anybody from a distance, not knowing what they're doing, it looks like they've got a gun. And the fact that the general populace doesn't really understand the difference between where you would see a real gun compared to an airsoft one, there is a big worry. But it's the same with shooting, pellet guns, air rifle, air rifles, in your back garden. It's just about not shooting somebody else and being safe with them, really. Just like it is the difference is they're not going to be lethal unless you hit it in certain parts. You could take somebody's eye out and break some teeth and stuff, a worst case scenario. But if you're sensible in your garden, there's nothing stopping you from practicing in your garden or, practicing it, target shooting with them. Yes, they're not the most consistent thing in the world, but you go to other countries, Japan, where you think our system of getting a firearms license is difficult. Theirs is even, it's 10 times worse than ours.
Yeah.
But airsoft there is huge, and there is the group that participate heavily in action air, and you get some of the best IPSC action air shooters in the world there. So that's my mind anyway, because I know we're always looked down as the dirty airsofters, but I think as long as you don't turn up in full mil-sim equipment, then I think everybody should have a go of it anyway. Because I'll tell you, the first time you shoot a 2-2 and have your blinking day at the range, it's an addictive thing. But then shoot back to the shotgun is brilliant.
I first shot a pistol about 25 years ago. Now I know I don't look a day over 40, but the thing is that was a very, very long time ago. And when you talk about airsoft, what are you looking like that for? When you talk about airsoft, the first thing I think of is paintballing, because I love that so much. I did that about 25 years ago, and I had one of the best days of my life for that. I thought it was so much fun, But obviously,
I would say my first experience of paintballing almost put me off of any form of shooting. I was 16. I was told £10 will get you this airsoft, your paintballer, and the big reservoir with bag of 50. By the end of the day, I'm £100 down. I've been shot in the face 12 times. I'm spitting paint before my burger, and there were a load of university students that put the ball bearings in the freezer. And I look like an abuse victim. I'm coming home black and purple.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. Yeah.
That put me off. That put me off for a long time.
No, it would do, especially put them in the freezer. There was a couple of guys on the chat box there a little while ago. They were talking about certification cards at Bisley, guys. Just to clear that one up for you, if you're a member of the NRA and you have a shooter certificate card, right? What that card means is you are disciplined to shoot a weapon. You will have a shotgun or a gallery rifle listed on that card, which means you won't be able to shoot that weapon at Bisley unless you have it on that card. Just to clear that up, I think some of you were arguing as to whether you needed one or not, or what was it, or what does it do? Competency. Yes, it basically shows that you're competent to use that rifle, whether it be a shotgun or a 308 or a 6.5 or a 223. Doesn't matter what it is. It has, a gallery rifle, for example, would be one of those three I just mentioned. A shotgun, Section 1 shotgun, for target shotgun, that would be under a different one. So that would have to be on that certificate before you can shoot that at Bisley, unless anybody else can correct me on that one.
So how do you get those, by the way?
Or any MOD land, any MOD range.
Yep.
So how do you get that, David? Do you have to go and...
You have to do a course. If you're a member of an affiliated club that has tested your competency, then that's different. Like, for example, I think the UK PSA and their training could am I right in saying that, John? No?
Not the UK PSA. No, your club could. So I'm a member of a couple of clubs.
That's right.
They can sign me off, providing they think I'm safe.
You can take a course. I mean, you can take a course. I mean, at the moment with the NRA, I believe that you don't have to have a very, very intensive training course to use a gallery rifle to become a member there. Now, I think they they have a much shorter induction course, which talks you through basic safety. And you'll go into a classroom and you'll get some practical training as well. And we'll talk about zeroing a rifle. You'll talk about MOA. You'll talk about lots of different things that will make you confident to use that rifle. I believe that you can pretty much do that at Bisley now and then become a member without being a member of another club or an affiliated club to get membership of the NRA. But,
I was actually trying to sort my wife's out today. Basically, what my form of information is that if you are a member of a Home Office approved full bore club, the chairman or the committee obviously witness you shooting a competition. So, for example, if my chairman was with me in my squad shooting a mini rifle competition, he can then prove evidence to the NRA for a SSC card to be obviously then released in my name for that type of firearm. Then obviously it's sent to the chairman, who then obviously hands it to me. Now, the difficulty I'm finding is that my wife is a member of a Home Office approved club, which is primarily a practical shotgun club, but they are Home Office approved for full bore. So it will allow me to own LBP mini rifle because they used to use Shield a lot for members of that club. But they can't sign her off for an SSC card for mini rifle, even though she participated in a competition only earlier this year at Silverstone. She will have to attend with it. She's got a firearm certificate and she has a 22 rifle. So technically, she cannot go anywhere to fire it yet or have any training on it. So she has to apply for membership with the NRA, and then she has to go and do a safety course with the NRA.
And she will, unless it's an affiliated club, and they can show that she's had some training.
Yes, exactly. But because obviously it's a practical shotgun club, they can't really say, unless they've physically seen her, they can't issue one for example, telescoped rifle. They can target shotgun, but they obviously can't do it. Now, I think that proves a bit of a limitation because I now have to pay for her to. I was quite willing for her to pay membership for the NRA. I now have to pay for another training course, of which is fully competent and has participated in the competition. It's got my goat a little bit, and I'm quite willing to pay for more training. More training is good, but how much is too much training to prove the same thing? Sorry, she's more than capable and competent to shoot a full bore semi-automatic 223, which she has done in the States numerously, and handgun. But yet, if she wants to shoot a handgun over here, she then has to go and do another course, pay another bit to do another top up, to do something else, and to get her SSC, it's proven a bit of a pickle. And I was hitting nothing but dead ends. But thankfully, the NRA have come to my aid, and they've really been helpful today in helping to resolve this issue. But again, it's finding the right person, asking the right question, being adamant you're not going to give up, and you eventually will find the right person to answer your question and the willingness to help you. And I've had nothing but help from the NRA today. So kudos to them. That's all I say. John, you follow that up?
What Ollie was saying there about mini rifle wouldn't necessarily, as Dave's put in the comments there, if it's one-on-one tuition, the RA is on you, it's not tuition. If the RA is on you, then you don't necessarily need that SSC. But if you wanted to go and shoot that same gun in a gallery rifle competition, then yes, you would need an SSC to do so. If it's not one-on-one ROing. But you've got it. I agree. Agreeing with what Ollie was saying about having all these boxes ticked and all the rest of it. The club I'm a member of is very good in that their safety. To join the club, you have to do various safety courses, and not courses, but you've got to shoot the full bore guns. You've got to shoot the black powder. You've got to do it as part of your probationary. There's no excuses whether you're a member of another club or not. So in doing so, they can sign you off. So it's all good. Like it comes under part of your club membership because you've already done it.
I'm sorry if it's covered in woof and goes bang. I'm sorry. Some things you just die a death. Black powder's one of them.
I thought you said you liked anything that went bang and whoosh or whatever it was earlier.
I do have my limitations. You can get hold of a lever action rifle. I went down, went up, claret everywhere. FAC went in for an adjustment then. And that's the second practical shotgun went on. Black powder rifles, black powder pistols, and lever action rifles. Nothing but bad news with them. I had a go, but I wouldn't own one.
I've got a black powder pistol. Gets used.
Yeah, you're old, John, so
once or twice a year. Honestly, shooting that thing, you need good technique. And you're right, I am old.
Sorry.
You need good technique. You need to have good follow through. As that, it takes so long for that charge to ignite. So as a training tool, it's brilliant. Now, granted, it's an absolute bastard to tidy up afterwards, and cleaning the gun's a massive pain in the ass. But as a training tool, no problem with it whatsoever.
I mean, I've heard rumours from years ago that people used to stick their black powder pistols in the dishwasher, take the pistol grips off, and just.
Yep. I've heard those things.
We're going to wind down very shortly, but just before we do, okay, I want to touch on something here about the.
Careful, Ollie. He's going to touch on something.
Don't get carried away, boys. Don't get carried away, okay? I know how far you can go with this, all right? Do we actually have a database, an organisation that has a list of clubs around the country?
I've never experienced one.
We don't. John, have you experienced? Do we have an organisation? Do we need an organisation to set up a database of clubs and train?
So, don't all clubs have to be registered with the NRA? Isn't that the whole point of them? An NRA-approved club.
Well, from my experience, there was the way I found my club was going to all those different organisations once I found out the name of the organisation, and then found the list of clubs as a result. So I think I found mine through the Small Bore Rifle Association or something along that ilk before I found the NRA, because I thought the NRA was an American thing only.
So on my license, I'm 99% sure it says can shoot these guns while as a member of this club or any other NRA approved club.
My conditions
might not be NRA, might be.
That's licensing. That's regarding your certificate. That is a police. That's a Home Office thing, is it not?
But yeah, it might be Home Office approved club, not NRA.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then if clubs need to be registered with the Home Office, then the Home Office have a list.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you can get it or not.
Well, I think we need to have a database, or we need. I mean, maybe we can do something here. But I think we need in order to encourage practical shooting clubs to develop their grounds and for us to develop the sport and encourage people to get involved in it. Also to encourage police and Home Office to get involved and to have a look to see that we're doing things very, very safely.
Can I just say from somebody looking for a club, the most frustrating thing about finding lists like that was 90%, and I'm not joking about the 90% thing, the contact details on those clubs were wrong. I remember spending ages trawling through numbers, email addresses, and I'm over exaggerating probably to a certain extent that it was so difficult to work my way around it, because obviously coming from it fresh, not knowing any of this stuff existed. It was, if any database like that exists, it needs to be maintained. Otherwise, there's literally no point in it, because if I wasn't persistent, I would have given up.
So while we're here, I'm on another tab here, on the UKPSA/club match. Now, granted, that's not every club that shoots practical. If it's an NRA club that doesn't shoot UKPSA, then it's not going to be registered. but anything that's logged with the NRA, with the UK PSA, is here.
I think the defining irony for me locally around me is I have a Home Office approved club that is NRA affiliated, yet at the time they would not recognise the target shotgun safety course as a means to shoot practical shotgun at the club. They only recognised a UK PSA long gun safety course as a way to shoot practical shotgun. They were also UK PSA affiliated, but then they got re-quantified by another society that basically hates the NRA and hates practical shooting. So they're spending money out on 3 different bloody associations that it was counterproductive. They're registered for a practical club, but they don't like you shooting practical for more than 2 minutes a month. But you can't move with a loaded firearm because, God forbid, you well, I don't know, have fun. And I said, and my parting words to the chap and the club in turn, and again, other people's experiences, I said, thank you very much. Thank you for physically making it impossible for us to enjoy ourselves. And he said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, it's not really that you've destroyed practical shooting, but the social aspect and the fact that from our little social group, of which there was only 7 or 8, we actually had 3 new people join and 1 left because they couldn't put up with it, because they wanted to get rid of practical. They wouldn't want to encourage it. They've pushed people out, and they obviously got their numbers, so obviously I can still stay in contact with them. And they made every physical reason to discourage any moving and shooting, any kind of practical. Multi-target engagements. The target had to be directly in front of you, and all this. And I said, but you're paying X amount for the NRA, but you won't use the NRA target shotgun course as a recognised course. You're paying for the UK PSA, but you won't put any level 1s on, and then you're re-quantified by the another society, small ball society, who, quite frankly, I'm sorry, they just like dressing in leather, which worries me. And that's a Saturday night activity. And they have physically ruined that club. And to the point that the guy who actually caused the police to go down there wasn't even a member of the club. He was a member of another club that paid to use the outside ranges. He caused the problem. Practical shooters paid the price.
Well, boys, we're going to have to stop paying the price. And we're going to have to shut this stream down very shortly because you 3 are getting on my nerves, all right? Before we go, I hope that all you lads out there who either watch some of this evening or are going to watch it on YouTube when I put it on there tomorrow, I hope you found some of the information useful. Myself and John will be doing club and range profiles over the coming months. We're going to be looking at target shooting clubs. We're going to be looking at practical shooting clubs around the country. Now, if any of your clubs are interested in becoming involved in that, just send me a message here on the target shooting page, and I will get in touch with you, and we will do a profile. It'll be an hour slot on here on a live stream. There'll be some video involved. A lot of it will be pre-recorded as well. And as I said, John will be very much involved with most of that. Top shooters like Ali, up-and-coming shooters like Amrak will also be coming along and getting involved. And it provides information for all of us. We're also going to be doing little profiles on shooters as well in the coming weeks. So, John, anything to add before we shut this down?
Don't think so. Amrit, Ollie, thank you very much for turning up.
Guys,
thanks for having me.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you all next month. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Stay on there for a second, guys. Oh, that was long. We got a good 2 hours out of that one.